What was it like for you getting the call and being asked to return to Pyro? Was it sort of surreal, exciting, all of the above?
It was one of those situations where I reserved judgment. You never know what these things are going to turn out to be. I was on the phone with Sean Levy, the director, and he said we want to bring you back. We want to resurrect Pyro, and it sounded great to me. It sounded very intriguing, but I just sort of reserved. I was like, this could. Who knows what this is going to be? Maybe this will just be like like a quick one line cameo or something. Like I don't want to get too excited about this. But then they sent me the script and I read it, and it was a real part, and it was opposite people that I was really excited about working with, and the character gets his own little mini arc within the movie, and it's sort of a great way to see the character of Pyro come full circle.
I mean, he's a lot different than the Pyro we know from being on screens because he's in this alternative universe version
Yeah.
of him. So I have to ask you about putting in the teeth and getting into costume. What was that experience like for you?
It was great. Yeah, he's very different. He's haggard. He's been through a lot since we've last seen him 20 years ago in the old X-Men films. So I really loved what they had come up with, imagining this character having been, this castaway character having been thrown into this, desert apocalypse limbo, and he's just been there forever and sort of gradually rotting, and you can see it physically. His teeth are rotting, and he's just sort of got like a permanent like mask of grime on his face, and his hair is oiled up. So I love that. I loved what they had put him through, and the dimension and the layers that added to the character.
There's such a great Mad Max vibe, which is also nodded to
Yeah,
when you're
yeah.
doing
They're
these.
not. It's not subtle. Yeah.
What's it like for you riding on those things in the middle of the desert? All of this amazing moments are happening around you.
Yeah, it was very cool. So one of the fun things about this movie is that they did a lot of it. They built a lot of it practically. It was all a lot of it was real. So you showed up to the set, and you're not driving to a studio with just like a green screen erected around it. When we drove to a real, it was a quarry in London, and they had just built out this like desert wasteland, and there was that gigantic 20th Century Fox sign that was buried in the ground, and it towered over everybody, and that was real. That was there, and there was like I think they had like a version of the Titanic that was sort of like beached somewhere, and like a downed jetliner, and like all that stuff was there. So it was really really fun, and yeah, they pulled up this giant like Mad Max style hot rod with like a 50 cal machine gun mounted to it. And I climbed up and got into the seat and put my goggles on, and started racing across the desert towards what ends up being, Johnny. I don't want to spoil. I guess I can't spoil. I gotta be careful, right?
Yes.
But I raced across the desert, and on the day, what the very first thing that happened was there was this really loud clanging, banging noise all of a sudden. And what had happened was one of the chrome exhaust pipes had fallen off of the car and fallen underneath, and was like rattling and banging against the axle and the undercarriage of the car. So that was the first experience, was just like of the prop like falling apart, which happens a lot more. It happens more often than you would think in movies, that things are sort of held together with scotch tape and goodwill.
In a
And
dream.
yeah, and things just fall apart. It happens all. They'll hand you like a prop, it's a hard job. Those people do the absolute best with the resources they have, and they create magic. But a lot of the time, it's just something that can't be built, or you shouldn't be able to. It shouldn't be able to exist in reality. So they have to sort of like construct this crazy thing that's bound to fall apart.
I have to ask if we're allowed to even discuss Pyro's powers in this alternate world. Certainly, you're a lot stronger than some of the people we encounter there.
Hmm. Um, yeah, well, it's all across the spectrum, right? All the different villains that have ended up there because it's anybody who was cast off. It's anybody who was forgotten about. So you have all sorts of different levels of power that you find there, and I think what you're referring to, yeah, Pyro comes off as quite powerful, I think, because he ends up going up against the one person that he should go up against. It's just like it's kismet that that he ends up toe to toe with the one person that he can absolutely just own.
Okay, I have to ask you, what's it like eating spam?
Yeah, I think it was real spam. They give you a choice, right? It can be because you're gonna have like vegan actors and they'll just sort of like mock something up or construct it. I think they gave me a choice of tuna or spam. And at that time in the morning, I think I'll do something spam. Spam sounds better than tuna at this time of the day. So it was just fine. Maybe the first time I've had spam, I think. Yeah, I don't know, but it's very salty.
The only other question I have then, in regards to maybe a little too touchy of a spoiler, is what's it like having Cassandra's fingers in your head?
Yeah, I don't know if that's a spoiler or not. I'll just say that I'm a huge fan of Emma Corrin, and it was an honor.
I will ask you as well, though, what's it like going toe to toe with Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and it was really nice to see Hugh after all this time and get a chance to catch up with him. And you know, mainly it was a lot of fun. It's just Ryan famously works in a very loose improvisational style, and that sort of became the order of the day, and that's how the scenes were done, and I love to work like that. You find things that happen in the moment, you add things, you take away things, you play with them, and just try to find those little magic moments that pop. So to be able to be on a film of that scale with that sort of atmosphere of it being encouraged to just sort of be playful and create, it was great.
There is no mention when watching the movie of the past that Pyro does share with a version of Wolverine. Was that
Hmm.
sort of discussed at all, or thrown around in improv moments, maybe? Or is it just we're meeting this version of Wolverine and experiencing that? Because Pyro and Wolverine do go back quite some time.
They go back. Yeah, I think this version of Wolverine maybe he didn't know Pyro. Maybe it didn't exist. It didn't seem to be something that they were particularly concerned with addressing, although the dynamic there, it is sort of, there were parallel elements to it. I remember in the X2 movies there's a moment where Pyro, as an ex-kid, tries to hop into the getaway car and he tries to drive, and Wolverine sort of shoulders him aside and he's like, maybe next time, kid, or something like that. So you see like a more souped up version of that in this movie.
I know you mentioned a little bit about the improv. Were there some moments where you got a chance to improv, or maybe things that you found that you ad-libbed got kept in? Or were you so busy looking around at the environment you're working in that it's hard to even remember? Like these are surreal moments you've lived through them.
Yeah,
It's
no,
hard.
yeah, there were definitely moments that happened right there on the day. I mean, one of the there's a moment that's in the trailer that I was surprised to find is not actually in the movie, and that's Pyro sort of, he's sitting on his Mad Max hot rod and he's watching a battle, happen in front of him, and the line is I love this part, or something like that. And that was shot during a sequence where Sean just put the camera on me and he said, all right, you're reacting to um, this fight that's happening. Cassandra is about to eviscerate these people, and it's you love it. So let's just see your reactions. And I just did a whole series of reactions and improv some stuff, and Sean fed me some lines to try. And some of it made it in, some of it didn't. And yeah, that's the way it goes.
So many people were excited to see Pyro back for this film. It must have been so incredible for you to get like an influx of messages from friends, from strangers, people who are fans saying, how incredible it was for Pyro to return to this world. What did it mean to
Yeah.
you to come back as Pyro?
Well, I hope that's true. I hope a lot of people are excited. It's very nice to hear. Thank you. My certainly my family was excited. Yeah, I got a lot of messages from family and old friends. It was cool. I did the old movies at the very beginning of my career, and then put it to rest and figured that was the end of that. So to have it suddenly resurface after all this time, over 20 years later, it's nice. And there's an element of nostalgia there, to sort of get to return to a part of your past. Um, yeah, I enjoyed it. It was really nice.
Did you take any mementos of this version of Pyro home with you?
I didn't. I didn't. I wish I had kept the goggles. But no, I didn't. I kept the lighter from the original X-Men films, so that's a nice little keepsake that I have. But no, this one, yeah, I think it's like a different environment. The X2 movies were really big, but you know, the MCU didn't really exist back then, and it's become just this enormous like juggernaut, and you could feel that on set. And I don't think I felt quite comfortable enough to be like, can I can I have this thing that you have multiple copyrights on and it doesn't belong to me in any way at all, and I've completely signed away any sort of ownership of it in any way. So I didn't keep it.
I'd be remiss if I didn't say how wonderful it was to see you on Star Trek as this Ferengi. People were going crazy for that as well.
Were they great?
Yeah, I mean, to see you in this character, people were just overwhelmingly excited to see you on their screens.
Yeah.
What were some of your favorite moments from filming Star Trek?
Well, it was really nice to get to work with Terry again. Terry Matalas was the showrunner on on a television show I did called 12 Monkeys. And at that time he was running Picard. So he called me back in. He said it's just one scene, but it's really juicy and it's really fun. And he was right. So yeah, it was a blast.
What's it like sitting through the prosthetics to become a Ferengi?
Yeah, that's not really very much fun. I don't I have a lot of sympathy for. I think so. Worf was in the scene that I was in. He ends up cutting my head off, and yeah, going through the makeup process and wearing the Ferengi prosthetic on my head, which was 5 pounds, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're wearing 5 pounds on your head for the entire shoot, which was, 12, 13 hours or something, it's really shocking, like how much strain it puts on your neck. So yeah, I really had sympathy for these Star Trek actors they went through this makeup process every day of work, and then you know did it consistently for these characters over 10, 20 years, 10 years. I don't know however long they're on it for. But I'm really impressed with like the physical stamina that it must have taken just for them to tolerate the makeup.
What's next for you, Aaron? What have you been busy working on lately?
Uh, I just finished doing a role on the Apple TV show Invasion. which is about aliens invading the Earth. And then right now, what I'd love for people to watch is a film that's very close to my heart, which is called Finest Kind, and it's on Paramount Plus right now. I think it's been number one film streamed for like 7 months or something like that. It was with Tommy Lee Jones, Jenna Ortega, Ben Foster, and it's a story about this group of commercial fishermen who get caught up in the heroin trade, and it takes place in a part of Massachusetts not too far from where I grew up. So the characters are very close to my heart.
You do such incredible work on our screens, and it's so nice to see you wherever you pop up. What would you like to say to people who are fans and supporters of the incredible work you do?
Oh, well, just thank you very much. It means so much that I have any fans out there, and that anything I've done has affected or moved anybody. That's the reason that I got involved in this business, is because I was very affected and moved by other actors' performances that meant a lot to me, and I absolutely love the idea that anything that I have done has had the same effect on somebody else.